typically, metal matrix composite, we included in it. We have two different types of composite that we are talking about. And one type is continuous, is fiber type. We include in long fiber and short fiber. The fiber would be such as alumina, titanium diboride, silicon carbide, graphite fiber, sapphire fiber, boron nitride fiber, boron carbide fiber, or boron fiber. That kind of fiber. It's a long one. Or sometimes these are more of a ceramic type, and they are usually made with the matrix like aluminum matrix, titanium matrix. These are two mostly seen, and copper matrix. Now, beryllium, lead, magnesium, cobalt, they have been made, but not in popular application. Okay? On the other hand, that for discontinuous composite, we have different types of particle or particulate reinforcement that include alumina particle, tungsten carbide particle, aluminum nitride, carbon particle. People classify the carbon into two types. One is graphite type, or is amorphous type, just the carbon. And then you can see some tungsten particle used in there. And in the matrix, we can see aluminum matrix composite for particle reinforced. We can have a copper, aluminum, titanium. Sometimes people also look at some higher temperature application is called intermetallic compound. And the intermetallic compound, to make composite, are typically included in titanium alumini. This material has behaved like compound, but it is also metal alloy. It has good high temperature capability. Or nickel Ni3Al. This is another type of intermetallic compound. Fe3Al. Those are intermetallic compound. It's a compound, but it's a compound formed from two type of metals in it. It typically have it's lightweight and typically have high melting point. So high temperature mechanical property is pretty good. Those are the composite material. And this table gives you, shows you the discontinuous composite and the continuous composite, some characteristic of different types for your reference. Several purposes for different type of composite. They wanted to get good CTE. CTE is coefficient of thermal expansion. This is to be used such as in the aerospace, in the space for electronics cooling system. Because in the space, it is rotating. If the sun is here, it is rotating against the sun. Otherwise, one side temperature will be very high, and the other side temperature will be very cold. It's not like Earth. It's in the space. So what they need is the one side which faces the sun, there is no atmosphere. So they have gamma ray, they have all kind of radiation going onto the space station. And electronics component in there, if one side is facing the sun, temperature will increase to pretty high. And then when they rotate to the back side, temperature can be very cold. Okay? And with that thermal cycling, they need to have a cooling system for electronics components which will not have a large coefficient of thermal expansion. Otherwise, the component will just debond. So that is the reason for this CTE to be able to control. Therefore, you are not going to have debonding occur. That is the reason to tailor the CTE property for composite material. Good wear resistance, high stiffness, low toughness, low strength. Those are the properties typically are being looking at. Okay, I guess those are the material. Oh, and this in the early stage, people have only limited amount of composite experience. So this table was prepared, and the table in here gives you a overall view of how composite material property change with the amount and with the type of reinforcement they use. When you're talking about composite material, two key components. One is called matrix, and one is called reinforcement. The matrix typically you want is lightweight. The reinforcement typically you want is whatever property you want, like high strength. Then you try to find fiber which is high strength. Like good wear resistance, then you try to find some reinforcement which is very hard, like carbide. Okay. So in this diagram, it shows is that if you have particle reinforced, then the smaller the particle diameter, the smaller, the stronger it will be. This side is the composite yield strength over the matrix yield strength. So if this value is 1, means no improvement. If this number is 10, means it is 10 times stronger for composite. Okay. And you can see particle, the smaller the particle, typically you see the better the composite property it is. In this case, for the fiber, it's not the size. For the fiber, then it is the aspect ratio. The aspect ratio is defined as the length of the fiber divided by the diameter of the fiber. Okay, and aspect ratio, the higher the aspect ratio, up to 10, it increases up to 10 and stays pretty much about it. Because when your aspect ratio is 10 or above, whether it's extremely long or it's short fiber, doesn't matter anymore. The mechanical, the mechanism of reinforcement pretty much stay the same. Okay, so then you can see that beyond 10 doesn't matter so much. A lot of the R's has been done in here and try to control the particle size, how to get a very fine particle size, how to evenly, homogeneously put it together to make it a good composite is the key for that composite. Whereas for the fiber reinforced composite, what you want is how to line up your fiber. So a lot of effort are trying to align the fiber, because during processing, it is a high temperature process. During processing, you can have two fiber stay next to each other. When this happens, fiber and fiber contact to each other, there will be no bonding, because fiber usually have very high melting point. And when there is no bonding, it becomes a gap, void. Then that composite is weak. So you don't want the fiber to get in contact with each other. And there are a lot of effort that's been done to guarantee that there is no direct contact. For example, people in making titanium composite, they make titanium foil, and every fiber they wrap the foil and then put together. They can do that. And sometimes they coat the fiber. They coat the fiber with a layer of matrix material and then put together. There are all different kind of ways. In the old time, people even make guided wheel with line in there, so fiber can be separate, and then they let it go through a hot press process to put it together. People do that also. So that is the typical composite characteristic. This is the table, gives you what is available. If you try to buy composite, what is available? Matrix material and reinforcement material composite together. Wherever there is a dot, it indicates it is commercially available that you can buy. Okay, I think I talked too much this hour, because I keep saying that I want you to talk more than I do. Okay, so here we go. I would like to give the floor back to you and see if we can all exchange ideas. Just exchange ideas. I'm not going to grade you about your talk. Just talk, and let's see that we can have chance to exchange to each other. Okay? The first thing I remember I want to do is to form the team. Remember, we talked about that. And last time, Ted suggested me to give you 1 week to form the team. So now here we go. We now have time to form the team. So let me get the team done first. A team is a group of 2 or 3 students together that you can find time to discuss about the subject that you are going to talk next time in class. And this team hopefully would, unless you fight between you, the team will last for the whole semester. Okay? Okay, so team 1, give me a name. Ted. Okay. So okay. It is Rice, Ted, and Leo. Okay. And Leo is team 1. Okay. Next. Anybody? Any team? Okay. Name? Jeff? Jeff Pong. Yeah. Jeff? And? John? John Lin, right? John. And 2 of you? Good. Fine. Okay. Another team? Team 3? Okay, Christine. Christine and Daniel. Dan. Daniel Lu. Daniel. Okay, Daniel. All right. Christine, Daniel. Daniel, usually we just call Dan in 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 the U.S. because it's easy. American name they like it short, like Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you can call Liz. It's for Liz. Somebody's called Beth. Beth. B-E-T-H. Beth. Liz. Uh, very rarely I heard Ellie after Elizabeth. Pretty much is Lisa. Could be Elizabeth or Liz, Lisa or Beth. Okay, then two of you. Oh, one more. Mitch. Hi. Oh, okay. Hi. Wait a minute. Oh, Thai Mingxing. Your English name is Mitch. M-I-T-C-H. Okay, Mitch. So I'll put in Christine, Dan, and Mitch. Okay, team 4. Somebody who has not formed a team yet. Okay. Eric? Okay. So, oh, this is the first time. Eric Zheng. Okay. Eric. Okay, but you have no teammate. Okay, Willie and Eric. And Willie. Okay. You also Ted. Right. Vinny and Ted. You are in the same team? Okay, Ted. Okay. I think we still have a couple no team, right? Okay, team 5. Bruce. Oh, you didn't fill this yet. Okay. You want to fill it? Okay. And who else? Did not have team. Just you alone? Okay. You also first time? Yeah. Oh, you can sign up. Do you know him? You know him? You want to form a team? Okay, Bruce. And what's the English name? Oscar. 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 Yeah. Good. Okay. So we have 5 teams. Team 1 is Rice, Ted, and Neil. Team 2 is Jeff and John. Team 3 is Christine, Dan, and Mitch. Team 4 is Eric, Willie, and Ted. And team 5 is Bruce and Oscar. Okay. Anybody want to try? Give it a shot. Okay. Anything. It's, I like you to be able to. Okay. Let's do this. If you can use slowly English, you don't have to speak very quickly. If you can use English, all English, that's good. And when you speak, I'll try to help you pronunciation or organization like that. If you really have hard time to use, it's okay to mix in with Chinese. Okay. Bruce is Xu Jiahong, and Oscar is Su Jianhao. Bruce is Suo Er, and Oscar is Suo Yi. Okay. Eric Zheng Jinghong is Bo Yi, PhD student, first year, right? Mitch 蔡Ningxin is the last year senior student in the program, okay? And Dan Lu Chenze also is a senior. Okay, so is Zhu Weiru Christine is senior student, right? Okay, so I'm not going to grade you on this, and just talk freely, and let's share with each other what you feel about the article. For those you don't have article, you can participate in the discussion, but I will send you this article when I return to office. Okay, anybody talk? Okay, Ted.
First, you mentioned there are 4 ways to reduce the dislocation. You mentioned 4 ways to strengthen the steel. I want to maybe how do we use when we make the steel, we can reduce the dislocation.
Movement, dislocation movement, right?
No, we can essentially we just reduce the dislocation.
Oh yes, you can annihilate it and you can reduce the dislocation.
Yeah, so we can, there are another way to make the steel strong.
Right. Ted just talked about in the first hour today.
I was talking about 4 ways of making metals, especially stronger. Okay, and the basic idea is the dislocation movement. That is pretty much the concept, the mechanism that materials engineer are thinking about when they design stronger material. That is how to slow down the dislocation movement. Okay, and the 4 ways I mentioned about there, but Ted just talked about that dislocation can be reduced also, which is true. And that reminds me one more way. So on top of the 4, the 5th way of making material stronger is actually to create dislocation. Okay, to create a dislocation by a technique is called co-working. Okay. In other words, that if you remember when you're a child, when you're small, you may go on the street and there is a blacksmith, 打铁店, blacksmith. Maybe it's no longer there are any 打铁店. But the way they make a knife or something together is by hammer it. Okay, they hammer it into thinner, but also make it stronger. Because when you hammer it, when you have a material like that, when you hammer it into thinner. And when you do that, you force the material to move that way at low temperature. That way, you force atoms. Initially, they line up like that. But you force it to shift into a different way. You can create a lot of dislocation. And when you have a lot of dislocation, it is just like when you are flying a kite. You fly a kite at Jinsan alone, you can fly easily here or there. But if there are 10 kids, everybody fly the kite. Well, you have 10 strings in there, and you try to run this way, you tangle up with the other dislocation. So tangling of dislocation by another dislocation is also a way to make material stronger. And that is called co-working. Okay, co-working. So it is the strengthening process, strengthening of material by co-working. That is another way. Okay, now go back to your topic. when you hammer it like this, when you hammer it down to that, it is stronger. But if you say, I want to hammer it further, make it thinner, I keep hammering it, what are you going to get? You're going to break it. When you are whenever you are talking about material mechanical property, you are talking about a stress and a strain. Stress and a strain relationship. Okay? And you will draw something like that, usually. And usually, it is bent down like that a little bit, because usually we are using engineering stress strain. This point is called the yield point. Yield point. If you apply the tensile test up to here and you release it, it'll come back. You can keep doing this, and it's going to keep coming back to this place. We call this region elastic region. Elastic region is just like rubber. You stretch it, it is going to return back. That is the elastic region. We call this region plastic region. Plastic region is that when you let it go beyond the yield point, material will plastically deform. And when you plastically elongate it to some point, now when you release it, it's going to go back here. It's going to have permanent deformation. We call that permanent deformation. And you have this kind of elongation. Material become longer. Now, second time, when you try to apply the stress, it will follow this back up and then yield. Okay, so the new yield point is here. This is the new yield point. What does that mean? It means that material now looks like it is stronger, because initially it yield, let's say this is 100 psi or megapascal, okay? This is 100. Oh, but this is 120. So for the first time, when you apply the stress, it will yield at 100. But after you plastically deform, it's going to yield at 120. So now, if you never use this material, it looks like it is stronger, right? Because here, when you do this, in this region, you create a lot of new dislocation. So now, second time, when you applied it, the dislocation want to move for yielding to occur. But since you create a lot of dislocation already, so it can go up. The kite, you have 100 kids there. Now you cannot run. Okay? All the string will tangle up to each other. So it is stronger there. Okay? So that is called strengthening by co-working. Now, if you keep doing this up here, you keep doing this up here, pretty soon, material fracture. Okay? So you cannot infinitively increase the strength. You cannot. But if I have to make, make the steel that size only, small in size, but initially I'm so big, how can I make it into so small? Because if before I deformed it into, initially it's, let's say it's 10 inches. If I reduce it to 50%, I'm okay. But if I try to reduce it down to 1 inch, it'll break. It exceeds the fracture point. Because now I have so much dislocation in it, I cannot move anymore. Every time I try to hammer it down, it doesn't go anymore. And then if I really use uh, 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 very powerful pressure to try to break it, it will just break because it exceeds this point, fracture point. So now, what do? I put it back in high temperature furnace. We call that annealing. Annealing. Annealing is a process. It's a process. You heat up to high temperature. At high temperature, atoms in your material will move, migrate. And your dislocation, the lot of newly generated dislocation, will try to migrate. And then you are going to find a new grain come out, which is dislocation free, no dislocation. We call that nucleation. And then after it's nucleate, the new grain, you will have grain will grow into larger. So in the annealing process, you have recovery, you have recrystallization, and then you have growth. Different stage in it. Now, so annealing is the process to reduce dislocation. So that is a process opposite to co-working. But by doing co-working, annealing, you can make it small. You can if you go to a steel plant, you can see that initially you will have a ingot with a diameter of 3 inch, 4 up to 6 inch, and they were sent into a wire drawing die, and from this end it's feed in. From the other end you pull the wire out. It's amazing that you can see that at the beginning it's slowly feed in, and at the very end it is more than the car driving on the highway. The way that wire is going out, it's shooting out, and then they collect it into a spool. But by doing that from large diameter into small diameter, they have co-work, and then they have a station to heat it up, to remove the dislocation, and then go into co-work, keep drawing down that way. That is, if you have a chance to look at that operation, it was amazing, the way they operate. Okay. So yes, what Ted said is that this annealing process, it is a opposite process to recover the mechanical property. So now you can, since it doesn't have dislocation, now you can make it smaller and smaller, thinner and thinner. So in the industry, you're going to see that if you are making steel slab for car body, it initially is several inch, and then they let it go through a roller to squeeze it and become thinner, so it become eventually a sheet metal, a sheet. Okay. But that is a process to reduce the dislocation. Okay, but that gives the five. The last one I didn't cover, strengthening process. Okay, anybody want to talk something? You can talk about the paper also. If you have read the article I sent you, you can talk about that also. I think you probably have prepared because I told you last time that I want you to talk, right? So I don't want to call you because if I call you, you get scared. So don't be scared. It is the way that we exchange idea, and it is also the way that you try to get yourself used to conversation in English. Anybody want to try? Volunteer. Volunteer is better than I call. Anybody? How about, let me say, there are Willie, you want to try anything? The reason I call you is because I look at that and you are one of the other PhD students. So I think a PhD student, you are able to keep it better. Just share with the other students. No? Okay, anybody? Okay.
Or create this location then reduce
The dislocation? Yes, yes. I mean,
if you use a hammer and hammer it down, material deform. When it deforms, when any material deforms, it generates dislocation. Because deformation includes two parts, elastic deformation and plastic deformation. Whenever plastic deformation occurs, atoms shift, and therefore it allows dislocation to occur. When you heat up, the mechanism is that atoms at high temperature start to jump. And thermodynamically, when atoms start to jump, they want to jump back into thermodynamically. Any mechanism for atom to jump is to find a place that has the lowest energy. Jumping thermodynamically is occurring, but it always tries to find a place where the energy is lowest to get stable, and that's the nucleation, the recrystallization start to occur because they find a place, a few atoms together without dislocation. The energy state is at lower state, and that will kick out the dislocation. Where does the dislocation go? During annealing, where does the dislocation go? Dislocation, okay, we think about that. Dislocation is a line where atoms got mislocated. Not on the lattice side, it is shifted. Okay, so when you have a line of atoms, they are all mislocated. It forms a line. Looks like it is a line of atoms. But in annealing, where does line go? That dislocation line. Where did it go? Disappear. Yeah. How did it disappear? Right. When the misaligned atoms, because of vibration and because of high temperature, they eventually find a location where it is a normal location. They will go there, and therefore dislocation disappears. And that's how annealing is occurring. Therefore, the higher the temperature, the easier that recrystallization occurs. Okay, so usually the annealing temperature, if you do it at a higher temperature, if you do it annealing at for steel, let's say, if you do it at 600 degrees C, it may take 10 minutes. But if you do the annealing at 400 degrees C, it probably will take 1 hour to do. The lower the temperature, the longer the time it requires. Okay? Because of, it is a mechanism for atom to jump. Okay. Anything? Anybody else?
No question. Okay, let me repeat your question. We always are afraid of asking
question because we are afraid that the question is stupid and somebody may laugh at me. I always tell the students, there is no stupid question. The stupid thing is no question. You understand what I'm saying? No question is stupid. The only stupid thing is no question. If you have no question, that means that you are not trying to learn, and that's stupid. Okay, so there's no stupid question.
Why are the weight taken in the Japanese water?
Japanese
Red, Samura,
oh,
sword. Sword. Yeah. The Japanese sword is a wave.
Weight taken because in my nation we need anemia, pneumonia. Anemia and is 刀下面上捶打。对啊，这样为什么会有weight taken？
Anybody? I don't know. There is
a first of all, I don't know really. Their sword is weight. Look like the samurai sword are very straight, but for the blood to be able to flow and for the pressure in human body, that's what you remember on the sword. There is always a groove in there. So when they push the knife into human body, they have to allow the pressure to come out, the blood to come out. So there is always a line in there. It is different, right?
I don't know. Anybody know why the Japanese
sword is wave-like? I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't know. Maybe it's easier to cut or something. Talking about knife, people are now developing knife made of ceramics knife. Okay, and that for at least for one reason, ceramics usually is harder than steel. Even tool steel is not as hard as ceramics, so it can be made into very hard. And the reason you can cut is because the difference in the hardness. Your knife can be used to cut the paper, but our knife cannot cut the glass because glass is harder than knife. So be able to cut the glass, what can be used to cut the glass? Diamond. Diamond is hard, so they can use that. And when they make a knife out of ceramics, the hardness is so high that they can cut material, cut meat, cut vegetable a lot easier. That's one thing. The other thing is that is ceramics, and the other thing is that usually ceramics material does not yield, does not deform. So if you use metal knife, after you cut a few, the knife edge becomes dull, and they can become bended. But for ceramics, it won't. If you cut it too hard, it will chip off, but it will not easily become dull. So that is another reason you make ceramic knife. Okay, I guess we can call it for the day. I don't want to keep force you to talk. You now have the material in there. I will try to see if I can find more material for you to read this week. Okay? And I would like your team to at least meet once to discuss about the material I sent you. And next time, I have 5 teams. Next time, I'll call the team to present idea from what you read instead of volunteer. Next time, if no volunteer, I'll call the team. Then the team will talk about it. That's better, right? That way you know, I got to prepare for it. Okay? So, yep, we'll call for today, and we'll see.